Welcome to WDEX, the Wired Differently Experience. My name is Todd Saylor, and I am the author of the book, The Brand and the Attitude Wired Differently. And my job is to love you, my job is to inspire you, my job is to motivate you. The show's job, though, is to challenge the status quo, to actually dare you to not be average. And your job, though, is to be, do, and think differently. So let's get it on. Let's do this thing called Wired Differently. Let's do this thing called Life Together. Today's show, I'm so excited. I'm one of the best things I can do for you is give you my energy every day. 6 U-turns. I got 6 U-turns for you. Fear is a noun and no straight lines to success. Life just doesn't give us any straight lines to success. So I want to talk to you about the 6 U-turns. Now, I want you to pay attention. Most importantly, though, the way I spelled you, it's not like you're driving down the road and you do a U-turn, right? And you got to go back to where you were. I want you to understand these are 6 U-turns. I mean, I'm going to ask you to make 6 turns today. I'm going to make you ask yourself about 6 turns that you can make to make your life more profitable, more productive, happier, and prosperous. I just want those things for you as leaders, as people, as human beings. It's important that you know that this show is about moving you as a business leader, moving you as a human leader, and moving you in a forward motion with God, your Father. So 6 U-turns for you. And I want you to understand that 2, fear is a noun. We're going to approach that, and there's no straight lines to success. Before we get started, though, I always like to bring a topical situation into what we're about ready to study and learn today. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is give you a shout out to Martin Luther King. It's his birthday. It was last, I think it was Friday. But my grandson's a little confused on when his birthday was and what Martin Luther King Day was. And I just want to give you a little story about, before we get into the first U-turn in life, about my grandson, Saylor. My grandson Saylor is 6 years old. He's an amazing young man, and he's got a lot of questions in life and a lot's going on. And we were driving to Waffle House yesterday, you see. We had our time together, and as we got into the truck, we pulled out of the driveway, and we were on our way there. He says, "Papa, this is exciting." But he says, Papa, did you realize that it's Martin Luther King's birthday?" I said, "Well, yeah, Saylor, I do know. Yeah, it's a national holiday on Monday. There's no banking at PayServe. We don't have any banking. So we're quite keenly aware of Martin Luther King Day." He said, "Well, no, Papa, no, I don't understand. Well, I don't understand banking and all that, but I do want you to know that, did you know Martin Luther King was a really, really good person?" I said, "Well, yeah, that's more than a banking holiday, Saylor. And yeah, Martin Luther King was a really good person." He said, Papa, did you know that he literally died for equal rights for all people?" I said, "Yeah, Saylor, that's very good. That's very good. He did. He fought very hard. He fought very hard for equal rights." He said, Papa, did you know that? Did you know you're part black, right, Papa?" I said, "No, Saylor." And his excitement was overwhelming. And I said, "No, Saylor, I'm not part black." "But Papa, you're brown. Or you're brown. Part of you's black and part of you's white, which makes you brown. And so we have black people in our family." And I said, "Well, Saylor, in our bloodlines, I don't believe we have any black people, but we do have Mandy and Tommy and Reagan are black, and they're in our family, but they were adopted. You know that." He said, "Yeah, I know that. I was just hoping that you were black, Papa." And I said, "Well, I'm not, but it doesn't mean we're not good people." He said, Papa, but you don't understand. Please, I need to know, Papa. Were we slave holders back when you were younger?" I said, "No, Saylor, we weren't." "But Papa, can you imagine if it was the other way around?" I said, "Saylor, I hadn't imagined that, and I'm still stuck on a banking holiday as a 55-year-old man. But he said, Papa, can you imagine if it was the other way around, Papa? Can you really, truly imagine? I said, Sailor, I want you to understand, I really hadn't thought about it like that, and I'm glad that you thought about it like that. I'm very proud of you. He said, yeah, Papa, but can you imagine? I said, Sailor, I have to be honest with you. I really can't even imagine. Well, what am I supposed to think, Papa? And I said, I want you to imagine. I don't want you to forget. Don't ever forget how you feel right now, imagining if it was the other way. It's the best advice I can give you, Sailor Lincoln King. So I want to bring you back up, though. I want you to understand Martin Luther King was a great guy. And I will also tell you this, Sailor Lincoln King, my 6-year-old grandson, is an amazing young man. And I learned more from Sailor Lincoln King yesterday than, unfortunately, I had learned really probably in the last few decades from Martin Luther King banking holiday, right? So I just want you all to understand that one's on me, right? We had that conversation before. That one's on me, but not on my grandson. Not on my grandson. So here's the deal. Martin Luther King was an amazing man. That's right. He was an amazing man, and his life was a very tragic ending, and he died for an amazing cause, and I'm glad we've moved through so many things because of and through and with him. But so is Sailor Lincoln King. See, Sailor Lincoln King was experiencing some anxiety, right? He was experiencing some fear, right? He wanted to be recognized with the black person, the oppressed person, the person that was taken advantage of. He wanted to not be recognized with the person who was doing those oppressions, right? He wanted to make sure that his papa was part black, because if his papa was part black, then he was part black, and then he would know that we weren't slaveholders because maybe we were partly slave. That's just the mind of a 6-year-old little boy. But the first thing I want to talk to you about today, the first U-turn. I'm going to bring it full circle. The first U-turn is Sailor was out of control. His mind was out of control. He was trying to get it into control. And even at some point, Martin Luther King, he was out of control. His mind, his being, he was repressed. And a lot of people in that position, even now to this day, we're not in control. And when we're not in control, we're stressed out. When we're not in control, we're worried. When we're not in control, we're in pain. When we're not in control, we're a lot of things but happy, right? And so I really want you to understand control. The first U-turn I want you to make is to understand that you need to be in control. Because no control, I want you to turn no control into control. The root to all worry is the lack of control. I have a super spectacular friend. Her name's Latane. I get to talk with her every now and then, and she's been through some things in life. And every now and then we get to talk. And sometimes she's just a little worried. She's just a little bit of concerned about things. She's just a little bit of. I mean, she should be. She's been through some tragic things in life over the last several months, but she gets worried, right? And yesterday we were talking. 2 days we were talking about worried and what was she worried about. And one of the things she was worried about was making a payment on something, right? I was like, Latane, we got to think about this, right? And so we removed that concern of the payment. We took control of her not being able to make the payment or not wanting to make the payment. And we put the spin on the bank and the person that owed the money. And the bottom line is we took the control of the situation. And it's not unlike that for little Sailor. When he really realized that we really weren't slave owners, all of a sudden, the lack of control, the lack of worry that he had became controlled. And his anxiety left. Latane's anxiety left. And when Martin Luther King decided to finally stand up and march his tail right into the President Lyndon Baines Johnson's office and say, this is what you got to do, my friend, his worry started to dissipate. So number one, the 6 U-turns, the number one U-turn I want you to make is understand that you need to turn no control into control. Now, I know I get on rants and I get all excited through these, and I've got 5, and we're going to rip through these. We're going to have a good time, but I want you to understand, we are at a halftime of a football game. We're at halftime, not only of a football game, but we're at halftime of the Super Bowl. We are talking about life and death things, winning and losing in life and in empathy and all things that are out there. I mean, I got to tell you something. I get excited and I can't help it. My brain gets it going because I think things are important. And I speak this way because I do care about you, and I'm emotional, and I want these things to sink in. And sometimes they just sink in because I get a little bit excited. Number one, I want you to make 6 U-turns in life. And the number one U-turn I want you to make in life is I want you to turn your no control into control. Subside that worry. Xanax is not going to do the job. Xanax is not going to work. It's going to mask it. You know what? I'm going to tell you one quick story about fear, no control, anxiety, and stress. You see this head of mine right here? It's bald. It's clearly bald, and I shave it every day because I want it perfectly bald. I can't imagine looking in the mirror now and seeing a moppy set of hair on that head. I got a beautiful, perfectly round head. Look at that perfectly brown tan head, right? I wouldn't want it any different now. But when I was about 30, I looked in the mirror and I literally cried. I said, I'm losing my hair. Every time I took my football helmet off, I saw pieces of hair falling out. Every time I took a hat off, I thought, I'm losing my hair. But I worried and I worried and I worried. I feared I was losing my. I tried every skincare. I tried every shampoo. I even tried Ron Popeil's hairspray for men, and I put spray paint on my head and I froze it in, and I went to a hockey game and I thought really like I was a big deal because I had a full set of hair again until I sweat. I sweat, man. I sweat at a hockey game. I was in the crowd and there was brown paint coming down my forehead, and my wife looked at me and she broke out laughing, and I worried. So one day, finally, you know what? Fear is just a damn noun, right? I was fearful losing my hair. I had anxiety. I was out. I've lost control of my hair. It was doing what it wanted to do, right? Gosh darn it, man. I remember to this day. And so one day, I went into the bathroom. Tracy and I were on a trip, and I went into the hotel bathroom, and I said, I'd had enough of this. And I took her razor that she's using on her legs, and whoop, 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 whoop. And I went down to the city street, and I just started walking around carrying a coffee. I'm bald, damn it. Check me out. Not one person laughed at me. Not one person got sideways with me. Not one person said, hey, did you know you're bald? And after that time, I had faced my fear. I took control. I went to control and got rid of no control. The anxiety was gone. The fear was gone. The pain was gone. Get on down the road, Todd. You're bald, damn it. Live with it. Come on, everybody. I want you to turn no control into control. I'm already riled up, and I got 5 more to go. Come on, baby. Let's learn this thing. Here we go. Decisive. Now, decisive, on the other hand, is something I want you to turn. I want you to turn your indecisiveness into decisiveness. That's right. That's right. I want you to turn your indecisiveness into decisiveness. I need you to be decisive. Leaders are decisive. We're not procrastinators. Listen, this is a bigger message. You got to hang on to the end of this message. We're growing. We're pushing 50. I want you all to understand, when you look at the tickers on this, I got 4 different channels that are running YouTube and 3 other Facebook channels, and we're running as many as 50 people live right now, which is great, and I appreciate everything, and we're getting a lot done. This movement is a lot of fun, and we got a lot of good to do. I want you to be decisive, though. I want you to decide to tune into this show. I want you to decide to let me know how you feel. I want you to be decisive in your decisions. Leaders can't procrastinate. You can't procrastinate in decisions in child rearing. You can't procrastinate in decisions in businesses and making money and growing people and human beings. You can't procrastinate. You have to be decisive. Number 2, I need you to turn your indecisiveness into decisiveness. General Schwarzkopf, one of the greatest generals you've ever had in the history of the world, as far as I'm concerned. I'll give you a quick story about old General Schwarzkopf. Before he was general, he was Mr. Schwarzkopf, and he was working his way up the ranks. And the story goes this: the Pentagon has had a 5-star general forever, and he was running everything. And the Pentagon had to make a decision between a defensive tactic of A and a defensive tactic of B. And they've been going around and round and round for almost 5 years. Not one decision is made on which way to go with this defensive strategy. And the new general rocks up, and Mr. Schwarzkopf is his fledgling, and he says, Mr. New General, I'm going to brief you on this major decision we've been trying to make for the last 5 years, and here it is. Mr. Schwarzkopf debriefed everybody in the room. One side was this way, one side was that way. Mr. Schwarzkopf labored everybody out. They took an hour at it, and after they were done, Mr. Schwarzkopf said, now, Mr. General, I'm sure you're going to need more meetings, and you're going to need more time to get this figured out because I've got reams of paper here, and we only had so much time. And the general stood up, and he looked over the crowd, and he said, I choose that one. You choose that one? Everybody stood up, said, yes, sir, we'll get it done. And as they all walked out the door, the general sat there reading over his notes and probably pontificating some things. And General Schwarzkopf, Mr. Schwarzkopf comes up to me and says, permission to ask questions freely. And the general said, permission granted, Mr. Schwarzkopf. And Mr. Schwarzkopf looked right at him. He says, Mr. General, I don't understand. It's been almost 5 years. We've been debating this, and I only briefed you basically 1 hour, 20 minutes apiece. 3 of us preparing reams of paper that you couldn't have read all of it, reams of paper that there's no way you could have studied it. How could you grasp everything? I just don't know how you could make a decision like that after 5 years and only being in here for 1 hour. The general looked at Mr. Schwarzkopf, and he said, Mr. Schwarzkopf, I made that choice, and it will be right. But how can it be right? Mr. Schwarzkopf, do you realize you guys have been messing around this for almost a half a decade and nobody has made a decision? Nobody has jumped up and said this is right or this is wrong. Each side, nobody knows enough information to make that decision. Most decisions are not being able to be made because there's not enough information to make decisions. I made that decision and it will be right. And furthermore, if it is not right, we will make it right, and we will not be sitting around pontificating how to defend this country for the next 5 years. You understand, Mr. Schwarzkopf? Yes, sir, I do. Now, I wasn't there. I wasn't there, but I can imagine how the story should go. And the point of the matter is, Mr. Schwarzkopf learned very quickly that if the decision isn't right, but yet you're decisive, you can make adjustments. My good friend Deltor McTeal told me, he says, sometimes, most of the time, all the time, better is better than perfect. We need to be decisive as leaders. We need to understand that we have to turn our uncontrol into control. We need to turn our indecisiveness into decisiveness. I know you can do this. I know you can parlay these things. Now, I know that you guys have heard all this and you probably know it, but you know what? Your mom hasn't told you in a while. Your dad hasn't told you in a while. Your boss probably hasn't told you in a while because he's too busy doing some other things. You know what? And I got to tell you, your pastor probably hasn't even talked about this in a while, and your mentor and your consultant and your HR guy and your attorney. No one's telling you these things, so I'm just going to ramble on down the road and get on down the road and help you understand these things. So the third thing I want you to make a turn in your life on is certain. I want you to be certain. Now, listen to me. Now, I want you to understand that I need you to make a U-turn and turn your uncertainty to certainty. Now, you know, I just talked about decisiveness and indecisiveness. I want you to understand the difference between certainty and uncertainty. Uncertainty is not to be certain. Certain is to be certain. And I don't want to dwell on certain being right or wrong, because certain is an attitude, okay? With me and my wire differently way and what I'm trying to talk to you, and I know it's a halftime speech, so let's get on the pads, baby. But I want you to understand, I need you to be certain. I need my managers to be certain. And even in their uncertainty, I want them to be certain in their uncertainty, because you don't know everything all the time, but you need to carry yourself in a certain posture. Now, I know you're watching me, and you've watched me for several months, maybe several years, maybe all my life. And you'll obviously understand when I say Todd carries himself in a certain posture. Now, I'm not always right. I'm not always saying I'm right, but I'm begging you to understand the difference of being certain and understanding being in a certain state. A certain state. I need you in a certain state. A certain state is abounding in confidence. I need you to prepare to be certain. I need you to commit to be certain. I need you to make your state certain. I need you to be moving through life in a certain posture, in a certain stance, in an empowering way. Even when you don't know something, you can know something in a certain way. Like, for instance, the way I'm talking right now, I'm certain in the way I'm talking right now. But if I decided not to be certain, you probably wouldn't listen to me. You would have tuned me out if I would have just said, well, listen, I don't understand exactly why the Republicans and the Democrats are not getting along, and I'm really worried about it, and I just don't know how we're going to get through this. And the world could probably end, and China's on the border of Canada, and I know they're creeping up us on Cuba, and I know the Democrats have took my Twitter away, and I just don't know how I'm going to do without Twitter. And, but before you know it, they're going to take my Facebook away, and, I'm just afraid to say anything, and I just don't know what this Wired Differently world is going to be like. I think I'm going to go be uncertain. No, that's not how we do things. Come on, man. Let's get it on Wired Differently. Let's do this thing called life. I need you to be certain, okay? I'm making a big deal out of certain because certainty, the state of certainty, the state of your being, the way that you breathe, the way that you carry yourself for your family and your friends and your church and all the workers around you. I mean, I want you to be positively in a certain state. Right? I think my good friend Travis Wall's out there, and he says, I got a certain kind of grin on me, talking about certainty. I got a certain kind of grin. Right, Travis? Hope you're listening out there, brother. All right, I want to talk to you about, this is a big one here. I want you to understand automatic negative thoughts. We just figured out that you need to turn your no control into control. Then we decided that you're going to turn your indecisiveness into decisiveness. And then we just got to drop in a bomb on turning your uncertainty into a certain state. Now we're going to switch the gears a little bit here. I want you to understand a term called automatic negative thoughts. Here we go. Are you ready? We need to turn ants into cants. We need to turn ants into cants. All right. So a lot of you understand that if you were growing up in my household, Courtney, Kendra, Kara, or even my wife, Tracy, we would tell the kids, you don't say can't. It's a bad word. All right. That's not the word I'm using right here. It's C.A.N.T.T.S. Can't. Doesn't really mean can't. It means can't. Cancel automatic negative thoughts. So what are ants? Ants are automatic negative thoughts. What are ants? What are automatic negative thoughts? Do I like my job too much? Do I like inspiring and motivating and loving you? I mean, I really do. But I want you to understand how serious ants are. Ants are automatic negative thoughts. Now, listen, I've grown up in a family that's been riddled with bipolar depression, manic depression, chronic depression, any kind of depression you can think of. Our family's got it, owns it, labels it, used it, burned it, whatever. We got it. I don't even want to go into that whole story, but the bottom line is I'm aware of bipolar. I'm aware of depression. I'm aware that they are unbelievable people and they got a condition and I love them and I want to be a part of them. And I want to tell you that I got a piece of that in me. It's my family. I'm going to own it, right? But the point of my matter is this. An all-out assault on depression is complicit. We need to beware of depression. We need to beware of our downs. We need to beware of these negative thoughts that creep up in our mind and they attack us. Little bombs that CNN puts in the back of our head. Little bombs, big bombs maybe that Fox News puts in the back of our head. Little bombs that our culture put in the back of our head. Little bombs that our parents possibly inadequately put back in our heads. Little bombs that a bad employer put in the back of our head. Little bombs that the bully on the play yard put in the back of our head. Little bombs that pushed you, it molded you, and made you a very difficult situation. These little bombs, and they land in the back of your head, and the neuroplasticity gobbles them up and puts them into your subconscious, and they whittle away, and every now and then, they pop up unannounced. Bomb, negative thought. Bomb, negative thought. Bomb, negative thought. And we waller in these negative thoughts. We ruminate in these negative thoughts. We let them get in the back of our brain and they move to the front of our brain and they affect our attitude and they take us out of a certain state. We've just done all this work on control and certainty and indecisiveness. And now we get to ants and we let these little bombs leap up and get into us and explode. Automatically, negative thoughts, detractors, Satan, dark side, whatever you want to call it, attacking you. You have them and you know exactly what I'm talking about. I want you to turn those ants into cants. Ants into cants. Cancel automatic negative thoughts. So here's what I want you to understand. You see, your mind, right? Your mind is like a motor. And on the motor, you got the two sides. And then in the middle, you got the shaft. And then around the shaft, you've got all this metal, right? You got all these wired differently. You got this wiring wrapped around this housing. And the more wrapping it has, the more power and torque the motor has when the magnets on each side are pulling on it, right? I'm giving you a simple version. But this point of the matter is this is your brain. And the wires are your thoughts. And when you're wrapping it around your brain, these thoughts become more powerful and more powerful and more powerful. And if you're wrapping bad thoughts, they become more bad powerful. If they're negative thoughts, they're more negative thoughts. If they're bad things you see on TV or even hardly say it, even pornography or cuss words or all these things that you're watching or Fox News or CNN, all these things that are just riddling away. And the more you see it, the more you do it, the more you touch it, the more you feel it, the more you smell it, the more it wraps around your brain. You see, and these are the bad. See, your subconscious doesn't. It's indiscriminate of good thoughts or bad thoughts. No matter what the thought is, it lays in the back of your subconscious and it harbors itself there, and then it comes out indiscriminately, whether it's good or bad. This is your brain. This wiring are your thoughts, and the bad thoughts seep, and wrap deeper and deeper. I need you to reprogram your brain from those automatic negative thoughts. And when those automatic negative thoughts pop up, I want you to understand simply this. Say cancel. You're laying in bed and you start to worry. You start to lose control of your brain. You start to take control. And I want you to say cancel those thoughts, because your brain can only think of one thing at a time. And if it's thinking, Todd, about losing all your money, if it's thinking about losing your family, if it's thinking about your show sucking, if it's thinking about things that are you're losing money in your donuts, you're losing money in your other businesses, you're losing money in this, if your brain is wallowing in these automatic negative thoughts, it's just a vicious circle and it circles down and down and down. I want you to cancel those thoughts, and I want to replace that one thought with an immediate rhyme, nursery rhyme, or a verse. When I start to get depressed and I start to have these automatic negative thoughts, I've conditioned my brain to immediately go to the Lord's Prayer. Todd, you're no good. Todd, you're going to lose all your money. Todd, you're going to wake up and everything's going to be ruined. Todd, this isn't working. Here you put yourself out there again, and you think you're going to be good on this show, and you're not going to be good on the show. People are just laughing at you, and you're just making a show for yourself, and why do you even waste your time with it? And when that happens to me, I said, no, cancel. And I start right in with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, and we forgive those that trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory forever, and all the power forever. Amen. Our Father, I'll do 100 of them if I have to. Don't let that thought in. Don't let it in. Wrap the new thought around the automatic negative thought. Wrap the positive thought. So now when that ant pops up, the Lord's Prayer pops up. You've conditioned that negativity out of your life. And here's the thing too. And number 5, I want you to understand that I need you to turn caring. So we go through all these things, and Todd's talking about 1 through 4. He's talking about control, decisiveness, certainty, automatic negative thoughts. And our last one before I get to 6 clearly and close on this thing is 5, caring. Caring. So you can't go through all these things and not care, right? So I want you to turn your non-caring into sharing. Okay, I want you to turn just caring into sharing. Okay, so we talk about Martin Luther King. We talk about little sailor Lincoln King, my 6-year-old grandson. I mean, he cared so much about Papa, and hopefully he was black because he didn't want to be a part of that tragic story and be on the wrong side of that story, man. He was so distressed. But if he only cared, but he didn't share, it would be a waste of empathy. If Martin Luther King only cared, but he didn't share, if he only cared about the plight of the black person, if he only cared about inequality, and if he only cared about the unrighteous treating of all people in this situation, and he never got out and marched, he never went to the president's office, he never made a big stink, if he never made a speech, I have a dream, and he didn't share, where would we be? I often wonder where I'm going to go in these speeches, and I often fear where I'm going to go in these speeches. I knew a man once that studied the Bible more than I've known anyone to study the Bible. I knew a man once that listened to every cassette tape and every study, and he had his own library, and all he did was just study the Word, study the Word. He was an amazing man. And he shared a few things with me, but it was only if I prodded. See, this man studied, but he never really reached out and taught anybody or shared much of any of this unless he was pushed or he was judging or in some version of that nature. I mean, so what point is caring if you're not sharing? Caring is a waste of empathy if not shared. Caring is a waste of empathy if not shared. So here you have it. Before I get to number 6 and we close this out today, I want you to understand that, one, I need you to do the 6 U-turns in life. I need you to turn your uncontrol into control. I need you to turn your indecisive into decisive. I need your uncertainty into certainty. I need your automatic negative thoughts to be canceled and to be can'ts, and just wrap those messages around your brain, the good ones. Reprogram your brain wired differently. I need you to turn your caring into sharing. I know you can do these things. I know that you're hearing me, and I know that you're thinking about what you can make a decision on today, what you can take control of today, and what you can be certain in your state about today. And I know you have automatic negative thoughts. I know that you have automatic negative thoughts. And I know that you can make this turn. But this last one is the most important turn I need to make you make. I need to ask you to make at least. Faith. What good are the first 5 if we don't talk about faith? Because it doesn't even matter. I don't even think you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 if you don't have faith. But I want to make sure that if you've mastered the art of uncontrol to control, because I know that you can. I watched Latane do it just like that on the phone the other day. I know that you all can do it. And I know that you can master the other 3. But here's the deal. I'm going to ask you in number 6, which is faith. I'm going to ask you this one simple thing. I want you to take the turn of control, and I want you to turn control into faith. Because in the beginning of the show, remember we said the only straight line in our life is to the kingdom. We said there's no straight lines in our life. And so what I want you to understand is that the only straight line in our life is to the kingdom. Because all these turns that we need to make, right? Control, decisiveness, indecisiveness, ants, caring. These are all turns we need to make in life. But control. Once we take control and master control, and then we turn control into faith, now we got something. All these turns we're making now become a straight line to the kingdom. And the kingdom straight line is very simple. We just need to ask Jesus Christ into our heart, and we're on our way to the kingdom. straight line, beeline, nobody in between us, no one between me and my God, nobody in between my decisions, nobody in between my certainty, nobody in between my discernment, nobody in between my control, nobody in between my automatic negative thoughts, nobody in between my caring, nobody, not nobody. Not even Eddie Money. He said, no, not control. Eddie Money was a big deal back in 1983, but he's not even in the middle of it. No control. Have faith. Turn to control. Well, listen, I had a good time with you guys today. And I want to end this show. I want you all to understand I do care about you. I do love you. I do want to inspire. And I do want to motivate you. And more importantly, I want you to think differently. I want you to be and do and think differently. Thank you for this moment. I'm just so proud of you because I know you took notes. I know you're getting better, and I know you're making me better. Catch me on my new podcast coming up, Wired Differently Experience. It's going to be great. Subscribe to my YouTube account. I love to teach with you. I like to share with you. God bless you guys. It was a great Sunday. Go out there and get it, right? We got this thing called life wired differently. Let's get it on. Wired